cave was found, and it was agreed that each person would stand guard for 2 hours while the others slept. The youngest brother, Sahdev, was given the first watch. He sat down at the entrance of the cave holding his weapons, and others went to sleep inside. After an hour and a half, Sahdev suddenly noticed a dwarf coming towards him from the forest. "Stop," said Sahdev. "Who are you? Where are you going?" The dwarf said, "You can see that I am a tiny dwarf and I want to fight you." Sahdev thought, "Here is a 1.5 foot tall dwarf, while I am a 6-footer. Of course I can win him." So he said, "Sure, I'll do this for my entertainment." So they started wrestling. However, this was no ordinary dwarf. He defeated Sahdev, tied him with a rope, left him on the ground, and went away. A little later, Nakul woke up. He went out and found Sahdev missing. He called out to him, and a faint voice replied, "I am here." Nakul found him in the state in which the dwarf had left him. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Sahdev could not bring himself to say that he had lost to a small dwarf. So he just replied, "I just felt like tying myself and resting on the ground." Nakul said, "Okay, go to sleep inside and I will keep the watch." Towards the end of Nakul's 2 hours, again the dwarf appeared, and the same sequence was repeated. All the brothers faced the same situation: Arjun, Bhim, and Yudhishthira. Finally, Krishna came out, Krishnji, and found Yudhishthira on the ground. Yudhishthira was the one who always spoke the truth. He told Krishnji the whole story. "I don't understand what happened," he said, "but when my watch was just about to be finished, this tiny dwarf appeared from nowhere and said, 'I want to wrestle you.' When we started wrestling, something strange happened. The more I fought, the bigger the dwarf became, until he was a huge giant, and I was like a child before him. He easily caught hold of me, threw me on the ground, and tied me up. I'm unable to understand what kind of a dwarf he was." Krishna smiled and said, "Okay, never mind. Go inside and rest. I will be awake here." Just as dawn was about to break, Krishnji saw the dwarf walking towards him. When the fellow was right before him, Krishnji asked, "What brings you here?" The dwarf replied, "I want to wrestle you." They started wrestling, and soon the dwarf began to increase in size. Krishnji understood the matter. He threw down his weapons, sat down quietly on the ground, and said to the dwarf, "You can hit me." At this, the dwarf began to reduce in size. Krishnji simply watched him. Finally, he became tiny. Krishnji tied him up in his pitambari and sat down. Soon after, all the brothers woke up and came out of the cave. Seeing Krishnji, they asked him, "Did someone come to see you while you stood guard?" Krishnji replied, "Yes, a tiny dwarf came." The brothers asked, "So what did you do with this dwarf?" Krishnji said, "See, I have tied him in my pitambari." In surprise, the Pandavas asked, "What is the meaning of all this?" "When we fought him, he continued to become bigger and bigger, and you had tied him up in your pitambari?" Then Krishnji explained, "Dwarf is the anger. Anger took the form of the dwarf and fought you. The more you fought the anger before you, the anger within you also awoke. This made the anger confronting you bigger and bigger until it became so huge that it completely overpowered you and tied you to the ground. Yudhishthira said, when you didn't express your anger in turn, he became so small, almost insignificant. The story signifies that negative qualities will always exist. Try to ignore them. The more struggle with negative, the stronger they become. Therefore, simply ignore them and focus on adopting positive qualities, tenderness, actions, and behaviors in your life. The negatives will then go away on their own. They will become very tiny, or they will mute themselves. This is the spiritual awakening.